prosecute a woman in a burqa. And I told the judge, can I make an application for her to remove her face covering? And the judge said, no, Madam Prosecutor, these are religious sensitivities. We cannot do that. And I was like, hang on, people can't even wear a hat to court.
You say he's a funny person. We've seen recently some of his old school friends didn't find him as funny. Where do you stand on these rumours of him making racist jokes and making people feel targeted because of their race?
I put no truth to it. I mean, it's, 45 years ago? There's no way they can remember what happened 45 years ago. And he's denied it. I mean, it really is lowballing smear campaign, because fight us on the policies. I mean, you saw what the chairman of the Conservatives said, compared us to the Nazis yesterday.
You were born and raised in London. You're a proud Londoner. What do you make of Sadiq Khan's record as mayor? Your favourite topic?
There's a different kind of danger now. There's knife crime, which really wasn't so prevalent then at all. You can get mugged and stabbed for your shoes, for your puffer, and my kids' friends have had that happen to them.
Yeah.
My son was mugged at knife point and kidnapped for 10 minutes to walk with him until his phone cleared right under our house.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Expresso with me, JJ Anisiobi. Now today I'm joined by a woman who has become one of the most outspoken figures in British politics, Laila Cunningham of Reform UK. To some, she's a rising star, others a lightning rod. And she is definitely someone who doesn't shy away from a fight. So stay with us because this is going to be good. Laila, thanks for coming. Welcome to Daily Express headquarters.
Thank you very much.
First question. For those people who don't know who Laila Cunningham is, how do you describe yourself?
I'm a woman.
Biological?
Yeah, biological and everything that comes with it.
Uh-huh.
I'm born and bred in London. I've watched my city change, and I've watched my country change, and I'm not the kind of person who just doesn't do anything about it. So I was raised by my parents to speak up and take action when needed, and that's what spurred me into politics.
Okay. So what was the moment when you decided, I've got to stand up now, I've got to go and join, as you did, the Tory party?
You say that with such disdain. No, I was a senior Crown prosecutor about 6-7 years ago, and I really saw the problems with the criminal justice system. And I thought you can change it when you work in it, but then I said, actually, you can't.
Okay.
And that's when I thought maybe I want to go into politics. But I also grew up in a very political family, so I've always politics has always been in the background. You know, my parents came here in the 60s to escape a communist regime.
From Egypt?
From Egypt, yeah. And it was under Thatcher that they bought a home, they built a successful business. You know, my parents my father passed away, are proper Thatcherites. So I grew up watching the news, the 10 o'clock news. I watched Spitting Image with my mum. You know, Arthur Scargill was like a household name as a baddie in our house. And so politics has always been at the forefront of my mind. And I think it was just a natural progression.
So you worked for the CPS. My law teacher always told me CPS stands for Can't Prosecute Sorry. What were the problems that you saw firsthand there?
I mean, there are many problems. One is the delay to justice. So, for instance, domestic abuse is supposed to be prosecuted expeditiously, obviously, because the victim is in danger and has nowhere to stay. But I found that some domestic abuse cases were coming to court a year or two in, and that's because of delayed forensics. There's sometimes huge backlogs for forensics to get processed. Just a delay in general charging from the CPS and from the police. And by that time, a lot of the times the victim backs out. Or you can't find her anymore, actually.
Okay.
And there is legislation now that's come in that you can do a victimless prosecution, but it's not quite the same. So things like that, there's a huge backlog for the Crown Court trials. I saw that because there are either way offences, which means that they're a bit more serious than the ones you try in the magistrates. So you can go to the Crown Court, but the person who chooses which court they should be tried in is the criminal. So they invariably, most of the time, choose a Crown Court, which is a huge delay, 2-3 years.
Okay.
And they're betting that by that time the victim's given up, disappeared, evidence has been lost, and the Crown doesn't pursue it anymore. And that happens a lot. And in terms of illegal migrants, what happens is they choose the Crown Courts, and all deportation matters are stayed when you have any criminal matters outstanding. So a few of these things really got on my nerves. For instance, in Bromley, I had to prosecute a woman in a burqa.
Okay.
And I told the judge, can I make an application for her to remove her face covering? And the judge said, no, Madam Prosecutor, these are religious sensitivities. We cannot do that. And I was like, hang on. No, people can't even wear a hat to court.
Yeah.
You know, you cannot rock up to court with a hat. But this woman covered her face completely, and I had to prosecute a faceless person. And then I realized, hang on, we're not actually equal under the law. I mean, even my parents are from Egypt. You cannot go to court with a burqa in Egypt.
Yeah.
So all these things I realized that have to be changed, and we need a more efficient, streamlined criminal justice system. Another person, you know, who came on a boat without any documentation and said he's a child. He's a minor, and he had receding hairline and grey hair. And we had to treat him as a minor because he said so. And don't forget, all these people have full access to the public purse, which is legal aid. And when you're a youth, actually, you cannot be remanded in court unless it's very serious until your trial. So for burglary, so he kept on committing burglaries and getting released.
Yeah.
Coming back. And I don't know if you recently saw, actually, they've given them advice to be part of some tribe in Kuwait. Did you see that?
I've not seen that.
So they were saying that some smugglers were giving them advice to be part of a tribe in Kuwait, and that would get them in to get an asylum. And this guy was actually from Kuwait, and I was thinking in my mind, Kuwait's really a rich oil country.
Yeah.
What's he doing here? And I've just put two and two together. But yeah, so things like that, I think, need to be addressed.
Okay, well, let's move on to Nigel Farage. I've met him a few times, but always like this with cameras around. What's he like behind closed doors? What's the real Nigel?
So funny enough, I was speaking to a friend of mine who is going to come to us from the Conservatives, and she met him, and she said he's so kind and warm. He's such a warm person. I think you can probably tell that on screen. He's a natural people's person. He's curious. He likes people. He's really funny, actually. He loves to crack a joke, and he's great company. I met him before I defected, and it was upon meeting him and having a long conversation with him that I said, you know what, I want to be part of his party.
Okay.
It was very personal to Nigel why I defected.
Okay. You say he's a funny person. We've seen recently some of his old school friends didn't find him as funny. Where do you stand on these rumours of him making racist jokes and making people feel targeted because of their race?
I put no truth to it. I mean, it's, 45 years ago? There's no way they can remember what happened 45 years ago. And he's denied it. I mean, it really is lowballing smear campaign, because fight us on the policies. I mean, you saw what the chairman of the Conservatives said, compared us to the Nazis yesterday. They cannot fight us on the policies, so they're pulling up all dirt. And I think it's just going to get worse and worse, by the way. It's the same playbook that they pulled on Trump, and they're pulling it here. And I think it does work on some. I would never ever be part of any party or any leader that I thought was racist. Never. Absolutely not. My best friends are from all backgrounds, ethnic or social. My parents are, you know, well, I actually did my DNA. I'm 100% Egyptian African. So I would never be part of a racist party. And that I've never felt any inkling of racism from anyone in the party, actually.
Okay. Well, what do you think the public perception is of not just Farage, but Reform UK as a whole?
I mean, it depends, right? So you've got some, obviously, who feel that we're giving a voice to those who've never had a voice. The silent majority, they like to call it, people call it, and it's true. And when I travel up and down the country, people are like, thank you so much for speaking up for us, because no one ever has. Because, you know, things like mass migration affects the whole country, but we've been told to shut up and put up with it, because if you talk about the negative aspects of it, you're divisive or racist or not accepting or not British. That's not true. You know, we're only allowed to bring the flag up during World Cup or the Olympics. Otherwise, we hide it in a cupboard, put our head down and not talk about how British we are in case we offend anyone else. So now we're giving a voice to all those people. When I go to America, I know your wife's American, I see the American flag everywhere.
Yeah.
I love it. It's fantastic. But somehow you're not allowed to do that here. And then you do get the other side of the spectrum who somehow, you know, I've been called racist and fascist so many times. I was on Newsnight with Zach Polanski, and he called me racist for saying that the men coming on illegal boats could be rapists or terrorists. And I find it quite ironic, because I think he's a white guy.
Yeah, he's Jewish.
Yeah, the people coming on those boats are from where my parents are from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're mainly from the Middle East. Some are from Egypt.
Yeah.
I'm not racist against them. I'm just calling out the truth. And I think it's really dangerous when you conflate both things, which is what they're trying to do, because they can't argue the actual problem. It's like when Shabana Mahmood said that illegal migration is really divisive and it's led to racism towards her. It's really conflating both issues. It's not racist to call those men on the boats, could be sexual offenders, could be rapists. And I don't think actually illegal migration is dividing the nation. I think it's uniting the nation, that we do not want it. We don't want illegal migration controlled, which is what Labour's presenting. We want it stopped. And then I think some people tell me, because you're the daughter of immigrants, there's a limit to how much you can talk about immigration. How dare you? Or, that precludes you from ever talking about immigration. That's not true. When my parents came in the 60s, immigration was in the tens of thousands. And what happens when immigrants come in small numbers, like my parents when they came? They wanted to assimilate. But even if they didn't, you have to assimilate. But when you come in massive numbers, you tend to dominate certain areas. And I think that's what we're seeing.
So how do you think your parents would be treated now if they were arriving from Egypt in today's society in Britain?
Well, I think they'd be treated very nicely, because my parents came to work. They would have applied for the 5-year visa that we're talking about. They speak very good English. And they came to work and be success. And that's the thing about this country. If you come and embrace it and embrace everything it has to offer, not fight it, it gives back so much. But if you come here with the aim of changing it, then you will get pushback. And that pushback can be aggressive. And rightly so. People want to protect their country, and they want to protect their way of life, and they want to protect their values. It's not racist. It's patriotism.
It is patriotism. I've seen calls on social media for people who have the Union flag in their bio, who would say that you and I, who are born in this country, well, we're not British, and we should be deported along with everyone else. How do you feel about that? Like, what's your stance on that? Because ultimately, as I say, you're British, I'm British, but to some voters in this country, we're not.
Yeah, and that is racist. Yeah, I consider myself very British, and being British is something I'm very proud of. So I do take offence to that, actually. But I have seen some people say that some people are British, right, born here like you and I, but they go on to commit a terrorist attack, right? Are they British? And I think, rightly so, British is not just about a passport. It's about what's in your heart, what you love, Britain to me is like, it's like a family member. I will defend it, and I love it, and I will protect it as much as I can. But there are others who do have a passport who feel the opposite. They want to destroy it. And so there is a question over whether they are British.
Okay. How do you feel about the calls from some on the right that reform would be stronger if they brought back Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib?
So I've never met either.
Okay.
And it was completely before my time. But
you've seen them on TV. You know what they're about. You know what they stand for.
I've seen them on social media. I haven't seen them so much on TV.
Okay.
All I've seen of Ben Habib is him ranting about how bad reform is, or Nigel. I've never seen him. I don't watch any podcasts he does or anything.
Essentially, he basically says things like Nigel Farage doesn't like to be challenged, and that's why Ben Habib had to leave the party. Same for Rupert Lowe. They think that Nigel Farage, it's all about him, and it's not actually about reform. It's about the ego and the cult status of Farage.
So I don't see that at all. But I'll tell you one thing. Having been in the Conservatives, it is the most refreshing experience to be in a party where the leadership is not questioned. It's respected. Everyone in the party respects Nigel Farage, respects his opinions and his leadership. And that is the foundations and the characteristics of a leader. It's not enforced on us. In fact, people are defecting because they respect his leadership. And that's very refreshing. And I think maybe Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe potentially wanted to be the leaders. I don't know, and they can't take it. It's an ego thing. Nigel Farage is very good at relaying a message and understanding what the public wants. And I've never had to question any of his judgments.
Okay. So if you defected from the Tories, if you could get another MP to follow your footsteps and join reform, who would it be? Is there anyone who you would desperately like to see? Anyone who you hear talk? Shabana Mahmood, you hear her talk and you think, she's one of us?
No, because Shabana Mahmood's plan is virtue signalling.
Okay. So there's no other MPs, even from the Tories perhaps, who you think would be a good reformer?
No, because I think our unique selling point is, number one, we're not career politicians.
Okay.
Right? Because you can see MPs who only have ever been MPs. They're too scared to do what it takes because they don't want to lose their job. There's nothing else to fall back on.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want that. And I think our unique selling point is that we are not the two parties. We're not the uniparty. We're different. And because we're different, we're not scared to do what it takes and shake things up. I think, there's no one that comes to mind. I'm sorry.
God, no, don't apologise. Essentially, you're saying that every other MP is rubbish and you don't want them in reform. I understand that.
I just think they've had their chance.
Mm-hmm.
They've wrecked the country. Now it's the people's chance.
Okay. Because you have got a lot of Tory MPs who've already jumped ship. So essentially now that's it. We shouldn't have any more.
It's not my choice.
I know it's not your choice, but your opinion would be
I don't know
no
them
more.
all personally as well. You know, I mean, Nigel might meet some and say, hey, you're great. But for me, I feel they've had their choice. They've had their chance for a very long time. Mm-hmm. They've completely ignored what the voters wanted. You know, they wanted lower migration. We had millions come in. They wanted low taxation. We had the highest tax burden in World War II and a bloated public sector with a massively reduced output. Mm-hmm. I don't think many people want to pay extra energy bills or outsource our manufacturing and our pride and our growth to China. But that's what they're doing. I don't think anyone voted for less police on the streets. Nobody voted for all our magistrates to be shut down. Yet this is all the things they did. Nobody wanted, maybe some radical people, nobody wanted women's rights to be erased in favor of transgender rights. Mm-hmm. But yet all these things came through. So they've had their chance. And I feel that they don't respect the voter enough to do what they're voted to do.
Okay. Now, you said you were born and raised in London. You're a proud Londoner. What do you make of Sadiq Khan's record as mayor? Your favourite topic?
Listen, I wish it wasn't like this. I wish London was different because, you know, I'm born and raised here. I love it. And my whole life is here. I'm raising my children here. I work here. I was a prosecutor in London across all the courts, a lot of the courts, not all of them. And I don't feel safe in London. You know, as I used to play basketball in the London Youth Games. I used to play every Sunday all across London. And from Brixton to Newham to like Crystal Palace. And in those days, those were quite rough parts. But there's a different kind of danger now. There's knife crime, which really wasn't so prevalent then at all. Mm-hmm. You can get mugged and stabbed for your shoes, for your puffer. And my kids' friends have had that happen to them. Yeah. My son was mugged at knife point and kidnapped for 10 minutes to walk with him until his phone cleared right under our house. Mm. My kids were targeted. I think everyone I meet has been a victim of some sort of crime, and that wasn't so. And then Sadiq Khan likes to counteract that narrative by saying actually it's safer. But even
statistically, he's not incorrect.
No, he is incorrect because you're going on the crime survey data. Crime survey data is very particular. It's people's memory, and they're only allowed to report 5 crimes. I've been a victim of more. Mm-hmm. And what we like to go on is police recorded data, which is data that's actually reported to the police. And that assumes also that so much is underestimated. So much sexual assault in the hundreds of thousands is underreported. Knife crime is underreported because it's between youth. But how can crime not have increased when he's completely reduced visible policing? I don't know anyone who sees policing.
Yeah, true.
How can you not? You know, visible policing is a deterrent. When I was growing up, and we'd be like, you know, I don't know, people would want to get up to no good. Even just smoke a cigarette, you'd be like, oh, there's a copper there. There is no visible policing. It's like if your parents are out, you're gonna have fun. It's the same. You know, he's also he's shut down a lot of police stations, so you can't even run to the police station anymore. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that used to be a case with domestic abuse. Mm-hmm. He promised in his manifesto to keep public counters open in one in every borough. He shut that down, and since November, he's cut all police in the royal parks. Yeah, just by normal assumptions, crime would go up.
Well, shoplifting and phone theft certainly is skyrocketing in London.
Knife crime.
Well, according to the stats, violent crime is decreasing, and London is per capita has less than other cities in England and Wales. But that's just according to stats. But of course, people feeling that London is less safe that is what matters ultimately.
Knife crime is the highest in London.
If people are seeing more people shoplifting and nothing being done about it, if people feel unsafe, my wife had her phone pickpocketed on the streets of London, then that's really the difference maker. But how would you change things? What would you do?
Well, number one, I bring back visible policing, right?
At what cost? Where's the money coming from for this?
So we're spending a fortune on ULEZ. Yeah, he's spending a fortune on green initiatives. And I'd like to get rid of ULEZ personally, because I speak to a lot of people driving into London. It's punitive. There hasn't been a discernible reduction in pollution, and congestion's just as bad as it always was. So it didn't.
It's worse in some parts because it is
Exactly.
low traffic neighbourhoods. Everyone's forced into the same main roads.
So the only effect it's had is it's increased revenue, right? So it's basically you're paying to enter, and the knock-on effect of that is high streets are suffering. I don't know if you will, Oxford Street used to be a thriving shopping street. It's full of vape shops and candy shops, because I'm not going to pay £15 or £18 to go in, £4 to park. And I think that's a real problem. So I'd like to see our high streets energised. I'd like to see visible policing. And look, it's about the distribution of resources. The mayor sets the strategy for the Met. So he said that he had elite squads or special kind of squads to target hate crime. How about targeting actual crime? And I can tell you as a prosecutor, hate crime prosecution is off the charts.
Really?
Yeah, it's a joke. Listen, racist language or racist abuse is absolutely disgusting. But that, I feel society will deal with those people. You know, they won't get a job, they won't have any friends. And hate crime is actually one of the few crimes that, as a senior Crown prosecutor, if I was to discontinue it, I had to seek approval from my line manager. Right? It's taken very, very seriously. And I'm talking about a drunken homeless man who goes into a shop and says a racial slur at the security guard. Right? Awful and disgusting, but it's a revolving door, because they're always drunk, they're always on drugs, and it's excessive, in my opinion. And some of it is directed at Muslim security guards and stuff. But people really care about the crime that makes it feel dangerous. And I don't feel that's a focus right now of the Met. He's so focused on hate crime. He's so focused on microaggressions. You know, I mean, to him, he had a post on Instagram saying that a microaggression is if someone mispronounces your last name.
Yeah.
You know, or if someone says, "Oh, you have nice hair." I mean, my hair's naturally really curly. I used to always get like insults when I was young. You know, "Oh, can I touch your hair? It's so bouncy." Like, that's not a microaggression. Just relax. So all these things, I think he's so focused on dividing us and putting us in boxes, different sections. Whereas you and I grew up in London, you didn't even. I mean, you never cared where anyone was from. We were all just mates.
Yeah. I didn't grow up in London, to be fair.
Oh, sorry,
I grew up in Dudley.
I'm sure that it was the same.
Much better place than London, let me tell you. What do you think of Sadiq Khan's response to grooming gangs in London? It's as if it didn't happen here, and he denied it and denied it and denied it, and was belligerent when Susan Hall on the London Assembly would question him about it.
I think so. What they did in London was they changed the word grooming gangs to multi-offender sexual exploitation cases, and I think that's what offered him the excuse to look at Susan Hall and said, "What do you mean by grooming gangs? What do you mean by grooming gangs? It doesn't exist," because he was talking about multi-offender sexual, whatever it's called. And I think it's absolutely disgusting and sickening that Mark Riley said there were none, and then a few months later, under public pressure, said we're reviewing 9,000 cases, and then a few weeks later said, actually, it's not 9,000. We've reviewed those. There's 1,000 something. I don't know if you heard. But we're going to need extra resources for the 1,000 something, so we can't get through it quickly. But you managed to review the 8,000 and something quickly. There's just a lot of questions to be answered. And I spoke to one of the grooming gang victims from the north, and she said that a lot of them were driven up to London. A lot of the abusers had contacts in London.
Okay.
So I do feel it's a cover-up, and I feel it's absolutely disgusting. And whatever form it was, it needs to be. He hasn't commented on it at all, and there are questions swirling, and there's a huge silence. Like, I want to know exactly, how did you come up with the idea that those 7,000 something are not a part of that criteria? What is the criteria?
Yeah.
You know, who's going to review it? Is the police doing their own homework? And this needs to be public, because we're not going to let those girls suffer in silence again. And we're not going to let anyone in power get away with it in London or anywhere in the country.
So look, you're a proud Londoner. You're part of the Reform Party. You know this place inside out. Every part of the city, every single borough. Reform's popularity in London is rising. Labour's is dropping. Might now be a good time for you to say, I want to be Mayor of London.
It would be an honour to be Mayor of London. As I said, it's the city I love. And I have good ideas for London. I would love to be, I would.
Throw your hat in the ring, Laila.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, I would love to do it. I would love to do it. And I will do it, whatever is needed, honestly. Like, that's the thing about the people in the Reform. It's less about individual egos and individual ambitions. It's more about what the country needs. And it's very different. So when I was part of the Conservatives, the whole conversation was, how can we keep the Conservatives in power? What can we do to maintain votes here or there, even locally in Westminster Council? And everyone was there because they were part of this 100-year-old, 200-year-old club.
Yeah.
Reform is very different in that it's what does the country need? What does London need? And we take it from there. And no one's there because they want to be part of Reform. Everyone's there because they've really had enough and they actually want to see change. And going back to London, I meet candidates coming to want to stand for us in May. And the candidates we had for the Conservatives were people who are like pensioners who really, wanted to do... It was very different, or... Whereas for Reform, it's like professionals. It's people in banking, and VCs, and AI, doctors, journalists, and they're all like, I'm working so hard and I'm getting nothing back and I'm being ignored. And so it's a very exciting time to be part of Reform in London and the country. So yeah, I would love to be I would love to be mayor, but let's see where we go.
Okay, let's leave London, spread it across the country. Immigration, you're very strong on that. Where's the country gone wrong on the issue?
I think the country's, as I said, I think we've imported about 6.5 million immigrants under the Boris wave, right? And we've imported them on such low wage that they can't support themselves. Because we do have inflation and cost is going up. And so what's happening is the British taxpayer is subsidising their keep, effectively, their living. And I think that's very unfair on the British taxpayer. And I don't think many other countries allow that. You can't go to Dubai or America. No. You go to Dubai and, obviously there are things I don't agree with there, but they are a thriving economy because they only accept those that will be a benefit to the country.
Yeah.
And I think we've done the opposite. And I think that's a big problem. But what people don't realise, it's immigration has a huge impact on the NHS. They all need NHS appointments. Housing, you need to find them housing. Public services are taxed to the max. And you see it because we're paying the highest tax burden since World War II. And I don't feel public services are better. I feel they're worse.
Yeah.
And I think most people don't mind paying taxes, right? If I get a great school, like I've got a really bad hip from running, I mean, I'm never going to go see a GP. Nothing's going to happen. I'm going to get, sick. So, and that's the problem. What am I paying for exactly?
Yeah.
So I think mass migration has been an issue in the country. Also, you do see some parts of London have changed. You go to Tower Hamlets. My friend, they're selling burqas in the street.
Wow.
In markets. This is London. And I think that is a problem. I wrote an article for the Daily Mail how Sharia courts have been allowed to flourish. And I think that's a problem as well because I feel like one of the major tenets of Britain is we're all equal under the law. And that comes back to the burqa in court. That was not all equal under the law. And even people coming on boats, right? So if you and I rock up to Heathrow Airport without a passport, what are they going to tell you?
Yeah,
they're going to
entry.
Are they going to give you a 4-star hotel in Ealing and give you pocket money? Of course not. And so I think that there's a fundamental unfairness to it all, and it's got nothing to do with race. It doesn't matter which country you're coming from on that boat. I don't really care. But it's the fact that we've had successive governments that have decriminalised illegal entry. We only prosecute about 1%. But there is a Borders Act that makes it illegal to enter the country illegally.
Yeah.
But when they land on our shores and they say the word asylum and that neutralises the offence, it's mad. It's mad. And you can't say this. And you have parties that are actually pushing for it. So Labour's new immigration policy, by the way, I was on Newsnight with one of the ministers for Labour, and she said, well, this is going to really prevent the men dying on boats because that's what we're meant to stop. Not once did she mention the women and girls that are sexually assaulted. I don't care if it's one or two. That's too many for me, but not once.
Yeah.
So I think people feel there's a political class that's more interested in international treaties and protecting what they call the vulnerable from abroad, as opposed to the people who built this city.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Reform's doing so well, because we speak for those.
Okay. Well, let's say tomorrow, click my fingers, Reform are now in power. How are you stopping the boats?
Well, so I think it's quite an easy plan. Number one, we're going to bring back that if you enter this country illegally, you have no recourse to asylum.
Okay.
Right? So you will be detained and deported, whether that's deported to your own country. And you can do it. So the guy who sexually assaulted someone in Epping, I think he was from Ethiopia or Eritrea.
Yeah.
Yeah. They happily took him back.
Well, it did. I mean, we started to pay him a few £100 to get him to leave.
I don't know why. We just put him on a plane. But what's shocking is that Ethiopia or Eritrea, I can't remember which country he was from.
I think it's Ethiopia.
Yeah, they took him back.
Yeah,
right? There's no returns deal with that. So when there's the political will, you can return them. When you've got public pressure, you can. And David Lammy was like, of course he will be returned. So the way it works here is you have to commit a crime and receive a sentence greater than 12 months. So we're lame ducks, sitting ducks, until they commit that crime. That's the only time that our legislation allows them to be deported. I don't want that. I don't think Reform wants that. We want it that as soon as you enter this country, we're not going to wait for you to commit a serious crime. You are deported. And I think once people who land on those boats know that once they set foot on that boat, there is no chance for seeking asylum, for benefits, there's no chance to stay, I think you'll see it stop.
But what about all of the lefty lawyers and the NGOs and the charities who are advising these men and saying, okay, when they come and talk to you, you say this and you say that, and you're good for at least another 3 years?
Yeah, of course, because that's legislation that we have. So Blair brought in the Human Rights Act, which was really to bring us closer to the EU. And the Human Rights Act embedded the ECHR in a lot of our legislation. So you would have to get rid of the Human Rights Act, get rid of the ECHR, which allows them to over-interpret what the ECHR says, and get rid of the Refugee Convention, because the Refugee Convention actually, and it was never meant, the ECHR and the Refugee Convention was never meant to prevent us deporting illegal migrants. Of course not. But that's what it becomes. But the Refugee Convention says that you cannot punish an asylum seeker for the manner in which he lands into your country. And that's what they use. So you'd have to disallow all those. And listen, I don't care if people say if you remove the ECHR, you're in the same company as Belarus. It's complete rubbish because Australia and US and Canada don't have it.
Yeah.
So, it's just virtue signalling.
So when Reform talk about taking back control of our borders, how does that look practically?
Well, I've told you. So we disapply all the legislation that is a shield. It's effectively a shield for illegal migrants, right? And then you'd bring in high-skilled where it's needed. So you'd have to take stock and see where it's needed. High-skilled migrants.
So every asylum seeker that's currently here now, do you deport all of those people, or you say, okay, everyone who's here now, we're now raising the bridge, no more in, but everyone who's here currently, you guys can all stay?
No, I think what we said is anyone who's here and who qualifies for a visa, right, our 5-year visa, can apply for it. And there will be a grace period. And in terms of asylum seekers, if they don't have a claim, or some of them will be removed, yes, of course.
Okay. You think the current government, and you blame Boris obviously, they failed us and they're not tough enough on immigration, but ultimately, unless we leave the ECHR, nothing can be done?
You can't just leave the ECHR and then not have the will. You also have to prosecute illegal entry, right? You have to have the political will to say, this is enough. We are a sovereign country. No court in Strasbourg is going to tell us what to do. And no one's going to enter our country illegally. And that's it. And once that message filters through internationally, personally, I think we'll get a lot more respect internationally, which I don't think we have now. And people will stop coming.
I'm not sure they will.
What would they come for? What are they coming for now?
As long as there's loopholes, and I think that's a big part of the problem. I think there's too many legal loopholes for people to exploit and take advantage of.
But we're going to remove them all.
you don't have any lords either. So Reform are going to have to then make 500 lords like that, get them all in and make sure that all 500 of those lords are signing off all their laws as well.
But it
seems incredibly difficult.
So Parliament is sovereign, right? But you have hit the nail on the head, perhaps there is a problem with the House of Lords, right? If we are elected with a huge mandate to do exactly that, and you have an unelected body in the House of Lords or civil service who try and put a stop to this, then you've got to question, is that a democratic process? If they undermine a democratic mandate to such an effect, then there is a problem with the House of Lords. And I think that requires review. You cannot undermine a democratic mandate just because you don't want to. No, because that insults voters. It says, you know what, we don't respect your vote. You got it wrong. We in the House of Lords know better than you. And that's a problem.
It is a problem, but it's a hurdle you guys are going to have to overcome regardless. Let's talk about Islam. You're very outspoken on it. Were your parents Muslim?
Yeah.
Okay.
They are.
So
am I.
You've said that, and you said you receive Islamophobic abuse often. What kind of things are being said to you, or threats being made to you?
So I get abuse on both sides. So I get called an Islamic, can I say the word?
Yeah.
Whore.
Okay, you can say that.
Or a Muslim cunt.
Okay, you can't say that one.
So I get those kind of things a lot.
Okay.
You bow down, to your religion. You're not British. You'll be deported. And then on the far left, after I think James O'Brien compared me to Lord Ha. I don't know how you pronounce it. Just literally for agreeing with people in New York that London is dangerous. And so on that side, I get, after that, I got the only good fascist is a dead fascist. The only good racist is a dead racist. So it really is dangerous when they talk about things like this. And I do worry from both sides, right?
Yeah.
But I have to speak up because the rape gangs, wanting Islamophobia laws, the burqa, that's not part of religion. It says in religion to be modest. It doesn't say cover your face. This comes from Afghanistan, Saudi Wahhabism. It's actually got nothing to do. It actually says in the Quran that you have to respect the laws where you are. It kind of talks about assimilation. And so I feel I have to say that, there are very, very British Muslims in this country who do not associate themselves at all with the radical Islam that you've seen take hold in some of our country.
Yeah. But you also said you don't blame people for holding anti-Muslim prejudice.
No.
But sure, that's a bad thing. Surely no one should be holding prejudice against anyone because of their religion.
But it's not about my religion. So if you're only exposed to Islamic terrorism, which we've had in this country and internationally, if you're only exposed to Pakistani rape gangs who raped those girls because they were white.
Yeah.
If you're only exposed to a government that wants to criminalize criticizing Islam with Islamophobia laws, and you see women in a burqa and you see Sharia courts flourish, what's there to like?
Yeah, but who is living under a rock and they're only experiencing the very worst parts of that religion?
But because that's what they see. That's what they see on TV. That's what they see in the news.
No.
When I see that, I hate the people doing that.
Of course,
right?
we all do.
Yeah.
But we are also exposed to Muslim couches on television, Muslim taxi drivers, Muslim corner shop owners, Muslim restaurant workers, Muslims in the NHS. We're exposed to lots of Muslims
100%.
who aren't doing any of those heinous things. So surely it doesn't make sense to say, oh yeah, people want to hate Muslims. Of course, sure they can do it.
I understand it. I completely understand, and I don't take offense to it. Okay. And of course there are fantastic Muslims doing great things in the country. But there is a section that is very vocal, has committed the worst scandal in our country ever, the worst terrorist attacks in our country ever. No other group has. Let's tell it how it is. We haven't had mass terrorist attacks by any other group in this country. We haven't had mass rape in this country of white girls, British girls, by any other group. There is no other group that they're trying to criminalize, that they're trying to bring Islamophobia laws. There's no other group that's trying to impose a law that makes it a criminal offence to criticise you. No other group in the country does. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. All right. Let's go on to Labour. Are you a fan? Of our current government?
No.
Starmer?
Sadly not.
Is he doing a good job?
No.
How much damage you think Labour have done to the country? It's not even been that long, has it? 14, 15 months? How much damage have they done in that time?
Well, the thing is, what did we expect, right? Starmer said before he was elected, I'm a socialist.
We expected good things. We expected better than the Tories, at least.
I didn't, because he said he was a socialist. And socialism, by its very nature, relies on dependency, right? It relies on a big state. And the more dependent you are, the bigger the state has, the bigger control it has. And it never rewards success or independence. And that's what you're seeing. That's what you're seeing with the budget now. She's going to increase the welfare bill. She's going to remove the 2-child cap benefit for everyone, even those not in work. And she's just taxing the middle. And that's the problem with Labour now. They always talk about the very high earners, how to tax them more.
Yeah.
You know, the top. The very poor, how to give them more welfare. But they ignore and punish the middle. And it's the middle that keeps this country going. And it's the middle that's ignored. And that's what her budget's gonna hit. And, you know, we're number 20 for IPOs in the world. Below Mexico. And, you know, those countries take with them taxes, jobs, opportunity, growth. And that's a big problem. When we have our own unicorns like Revolut, who went to France, I speak to so many big companies who are going to list abroad because we've overtaxed and overregulated that people don't trust selling up shop here. And you can't have a thriving public sector that's not paid for by those middle earners if you don't have a thriving private sector. But we've chased them all away. I mean, net zero, you know, we have the highest industrial energy costs, some in the world. So we used to be the workshop of the world. We used to make stuff.
Yeah.
You know, now we import all that stuff from China. I mean, China's very clever. It doesn't even need to wage a war. It just deindustrializes all the Western countries, which is basically what it's done.
Yeah.
And the farce is that, you know, we're putting in solar panels that were made in China, way worse energy, and we bring it here and we call it green.
Yeah.
And then they're making us pay for renewables, right, which are so expensive now, on the promise that eventually they will give us such cheap, reliable energy that it will pay back the damage. Who knows? So I think, yeah, they are destroying the country.
Ed Miliband, we should get rid of him?
Yeah, I think we should, because I don't want to pay for Ed Miliband's ideology. You know, right now, we contribute to about 1% of global emissions.
Yeah.
You know, but we're acting like we're the only country in the world. You know, we cannot reduce production of fossil fuels until we reduce consumption. We're producing even more and more, and they talk about AI and tech. For AI, you need massive amount of energy.
Yeah.
Why not rely on ourselves? You know, I spoke to a farmer, so a tenant farmer in Cumbria, and she was telling me nobody talks about the tenant farmers. They talk about the
landowners.
The landowners.
Yeah.
And she was saying that now her landlord has said that she's got to stop growing food and start growing trees because they get paid more for that.
Wow.
And she said that's happening all across. And she's like, we're 3rd-generation tenant farmers. And she says, she was so upset. She says, we're going to stop. We've advised our children to get out of the business. And that's what's happening. You know, we only have about 55 to 60% that homemade food. Why not rely on ourselves for everything? You know, for me, that's a strong country, self-reliance. And by the way, no country that's pursued net zero is successful, by the way. They've all deindustrialized and are suffering from growth. And the problem is right now is that we have a declining GDP, right? But what people expect the government to do and give has not matched that. It's actually increased. And it's the middle earners who are going to pay.
Yeah. All right, let's end this on learning a bit more about you,
Okay.
the person behind the politics. How has your background and your religion and your upbringing shaped your political view, do you think?
So there's no welfare in the Middle East, right? So you just work for yourself.
Yeah.
Or else it's a do or die environment. And so that's my parents. You know, my mum worked very, very hard when she came here. You know, she had 5 jobs. I remember she'd pick me up. I don't know if anyone remembers, my mum would hold my hand from my wrist when we'd walk, and I'd always be running along with her, you know. She never took me to the playground or the park. I'd just go from different jobs, sit around, or, you know, it was that kind of, there was no messing about. And I think I learned that from her.
Okay.
Very determined. Again, she was very political, absolutely adored Margaret Thatcher. And, you know, she adores this country, my mum, adores it. My father passed away. And so that's what I grew up with. I grew up with a deep love for this country because what it's given my family, a really deep gratitude, you know, and a thing that if you don't take what you want or work hard, you're just not going to get it back. But then, just going back, that dream's almost broken as well now, because wages have been stagnant since 2008. So my kids are going to university, and I can't promise them that they'll have a great job and be able to buy a house, because that's not true anymore. The dream of university has been broken.
Yeah.
And I think when you import cheap wages from migrants, that's what happens. Wages are stagnant, but of course we have an asset bubble, right? So house prices have gone up. So there is a serious problem with the working hard promise and getting something in return, which I don't think is happening really right now.
No, yeah.
No, people are working really hard and not getting much back.
Yeah.
And they feel, and I think that's what Mondani won in New York. You know, people are working and they feel like, what's the point? I'm just going to sit back and let the government do everything for me.
Yeah.
You can't really blame them. So I think that's a problem. And then, you know, I used to play basketball. I was obsessed.
Yeah, you're quite tall.
Yeah.
You're 5'11".
Yeah.
Amazing.
And I used to, I went to play in Cal State Long Beach.
Okay.
And I used to go play like in Venice Beach, like the street ball. I loved it. I could not believe when I went to America for the first time, I'm like, I can't believe like basketball is an actual sport here, because it wasn't big when I was growing up.
Yeah.
It was quite niche, but I was so obsessed with that. I used to sleep with my trainers on my bed, my Spalding ball. Sadly, my daughter wants netball.
It's a good sport. It's a good sport. Not as good as basketball, but...
Is it a sport?
Well, that's interesting. Okay.
Anyway, my kids will disagree with me massively, but I just feel it's not rough and tumble enough.
Fine.
Yeah. I mean, listen. You know, I'm just someone who just wants to see what's best for this country, and I just feel it's not right. You know, it's not right what's happening now.
Okay. Well, apart from Margaret Thatcher, who are some great British role models, do you think? They can be past, present?
Great British role models.
Do you think Farage is a good British role model?
Yeah, I think he's great. I think he's so resilient. You know, he stuck it out. And say what you say. People always say, oh, what does Starmer believe in? What does Kemi? You know that Nigel Farage's first point is what's best for Britain, right? That's why he wanted to exit the EU. And listen, I voted for Brexit. And
Are you having buyer's remorse? You happy with the outcome?
Zero. No, I'm not happy with the outcome. But for me, I wanted a free Britain. I didn't want a federal European state telling us what to do. And I feel that actually we still do have a federal European
we do.
state. Yeah.
How's that worked out for you?
Yeah, I mean, but that's not for Brexit. That's the implementation of it, right? You know, I mean, like I want a deregulation, but Kemi said, "Oh, it's too hard. I'm only going to deregulate 400, remove 400." That's the thing. I want, but yeah, I think he is. I think he is a role model, and I think he's someone that says, I mean, he has the establishment fighting him, from the press to the journalists to the academics to, you know, teachers, and yet we're polling higher than both parties sometimes combined. So that must tell you something. Yeah. That the establishment is so far removed from what actually people feel, that there has to be a shift. There has to be a shift from the establishment rules to the people rules. And that's what we represent.
Okay. You are noted for your beauty, as well as your brains, it must be said. Have you experienced any unwanted attention in politics from we hear rumours about how dirty politics is, how some of the men are terribly behaved, how much misogyny there is. Have you experienced anything like that yourself?
Just online.
Okay. I say okay, actually, like that's all right. It's still not good, but...
No, it's fine. Actually, the comments I do get are, oh my God, I wouldn't want to be Laila's husband. You'd never win an argument. Those are the most comments I get. So I think maybe people are a bit, I don't know. Luckily, I haven't.
Okay. Good.
But, you know.
Good. Well, when you're not arguing about immigration, what do you do to relax?
I run.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm a runner. And then I lift weights I've actually taken to lifting quite heavy weights, which is quite a good feeling. Yeah, I think past 40, you need to lift heavy. Yeah. I was doing like the gentle, 25 rep thing. And now I'm lifting heavy. And then my husband's quite political. He's a Republican. Okay. So actually my whole life is between my mother and my brother and my husband, I'm always talking politics and arguing about something. In fact, people, so when I speak with my family, we're big, there's 5 of us. And when people hear us speak, they're like, why are you guys arguing? We're like, arguing? This is a gentle, friendly conversation. If I was speaking to my mum, my husband, who's like a very quiet American, he's like, why are you yelling at your mum? I'm like, yelling? It was just a normal conversation. I think that's like some ethnic minority. It's just, you know.
I think it is. Yeah, that's an ethnic cultural thing.
Yeah, I think it's an ethnic cultural thing.
Yeah,
whereas when I go to my husband and his family, they're like, oh, thank you very much for your opinion. And what do you think?
Well, Laila Cunningham, the future Mayor of London, perhaps.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, that is it for today's very special episode of the Daily Expresso. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye-bye.